There we go. Hey everybody, welcome. What's up? Microphone was unplugged again. Few things on my mind here. Mathematic chess. What is mathematic chess doing? Alright, I'm confused. I thought mathematic chess already sent me a game. That's weird. Maybe that was last week's one. Why is it? Yeah. Alright, mathematic chess. I had you earlier there after a good 40%. I must have been looking at last week's. Yeah. I got a little confused. 1 hour ago, mathematic chess. 6 days ago. Alright, I don't know. I don't like the messaging system on this site at all. Mathematic chess is like last on the list. Anyway, guys, welcome to the stream. International Master William Paschall. We're doing live analysis of games from subscribers. I apologize for being late, but I'm going through a very important process here. I'm selling all the contents of my house, which is a big deal. We probably have a huge inventory. The whole house is full, gutter to gutter. Massive estate sale that I'm putting on. So I was all day just unbelievable, just pricing items. I've never done anything like this before, but it's crazy. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, nobody's allowed in my secret room. The secret room, anything in the secret room is off limits. You guys have access to my secret room. But every other room, everything's for sale. So I don't want them selling my microwave, my TV, my couch for Weedmaster to watch TV, Ponda, assorted plates and dishes. I said my coffee maker, microwave, and that's about it. So wish me luck, guys, because Friday, 3-day sale, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if you want to come up, Mr. Coffee, check it out. A little far for someone on sound. But we've got people coming from as far as Rhode Island. I know that. So I'm not that far from Rhode Island. Anyway, we're getting ready to get started here. So we're doing game analysis, and I've got problems with my messages. So I think this is the list. Asterbait, Warnaki, someone on sound, good 40%. Arsenal fan, Blobix, move 11. Mule Skinner, Stook, Uber driver, and Mathematic. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's going to fill it up for today. 7 hours drive. Mr. Coffee's like not into estate sales. Maybe another thing, man. Something chess related someday. We'll meet up. So, actually, I have a couple chess lessons for tomorrow morning when the thing starts. Hopefully they'll be able to, the crew will be able to handle it without me for the first 2 hours. But let's get started. So, we've got subscriber stream. Did I title this correctly? Yes. Subscriber stream, lichess.org. Asterbait, I believe, was the first on the list. But I'm a little bit, yeah, the Socali. That's exactly right. Asterbait, Thursday commentary game submission. Sicilian Defense O'Kelly variation, 1-0. I saw we had a donation earlier. Asterbait with 100, okay. Asterbait, 100, and another 100. Mr. Coffee, the team leader this week, rated 9.99. Jim, what's up? Sorry we're a little late. I've got a huge sale taking place in my house this weekend, and that's why we're a little behind schedule. Blobix, Jim, we've got Dragon BC, Asterbait, WJ Loof, Warnaki, HTFP, Merle Dixon, and Move 11. Is the Simul still going to happen on Sunday? I plan on the Simul still happening. There's this guy who's threatening to buy my house. I mean, he's like supposed to meet me Sunday afternoon. I don't know if he's going to make an offer on it, but he better do something quick because I'm going to list the house for sale very soon. But I see a 5:30 simul in the future. So, but we're also going to have the stream tomorrow. In the evening, there's no reason why I can't do the stream. So 5:30 Sunday, excuse me, 5:30 Friday. We're still gonna have the Blitz stream tomorrow if I don't like die of exhaustion. Blitz stream tomorrow 5:30, and then the Simul 5:30 on Sunday. Should not affect our streaming schedule. All right. So Astrobate is white here. We're gonna try to get through these games. E4, C5, Knight F3, A6. This is a line that Ubatis, one of our other subscribers, was playing a lot. I was supposed to meet him today for a lesson, but he had a migraine. He's feeling better. It's a little late for him in Denmark. He likes to go to bed at a normal, acceptable amount of time. So, shall we say? He's not here. But I was playing A6 quite a bit myself. So Astrobate meets it with A4. It's funny how few people have actually reacted this way. That's looking like something that, almost anybody would say, okay, I'll just play A4. I mean, A4 can't be that bad, but it's a sort of defensive reaction, and that's what it is. It's like reactionary. You're white, so you're supposed to control the game, Astrobate. So the most recommended moves here are C4, if you like the Marazzi, like Blobix, maybe Blobix wouldn't prefer Marazzi option. Blobix would probably play B3. But no, seriously, C4 and C3 are the most recommended moves against the O'Kelly. The most common mistake is to play D4, which theoretically allows black to equalize. Basically, after pawn takes D4, knight takes D4, black can play knight F6, knight C3, and E5. And the engine agrees. Like, black pretty much equalizes here immediately. So that's the main point of the O'Kelly variation, to try to prevent white from playing D4. You could play, okay, someone on sound suggests, of course, yes, you can transpose to the Smith-Morra with C3. Man, you got a one-track mind. All right, well, I guess there's worse things you can have a one-track mind about. But A4, all right, this is just a non-theoretical move. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what black should do here, but D6 doesn't look like a big deal. All right, and now C3. So he's trying to enforce the same plan. Blobix he usually likes to be at the top there. Cheers, everybody. I worked hard today, so I'm having a beer. I've been working all day since 8 o'clock this morning, preparing for a huge estate sale. So I'm not a lazy chess player. Stook says I won a simul game against an IM in this A4 system. I wouldn't go as far as to call it a system, but that's a nice win, Stook. So because it's played doesn't make it a system. C3, knight F6, and there's the problem right now. I think that A6 actually may be more constructive than A4 at the end of the day. We've got to defend that pawn now, and there's not really any great way to protect the E4 pawn. Cheers, Dem C. Hooligan. There's no good way to protect the pawn. D3, bishop D3, queen E2, queen C2. Pretty much every possible way of protecting that pawn sort of sucks. I think A5 is interesting, because with A5 you got the wonderful trick of knight takes, queen A4 check, and secondly, I guess the pawn could be protected by like queen A4. I don't know. I mean, the risk is that the pawn gets kind of overextended on A5, so it's an option. So you played E5. Yeah, I really would like to take the A4 move back for white here. Every pawn move weakens your position slightly. I think A4 is unnecessary. So E5, you're basically destroying your own, you're undermining your own center with the move E5. Takes, knight takes E5. Again, I'd like to take back A4 if I could, right about now. Very solid play by black, knight BD7, and then you play D4. This is tough, though. Black's already slightly better. And I think that A4 not only like slightly weakens white's position, but it also obviously, you know, costs you a little bit of time. Black's actually had a development for a moment here. So the computer with an interesting suggestion of knight c4. Knight c4, knight b6 like a Benoni. Maybe that could be played. That's weird. Okay, d4, and then now, yeah, I mean, he could just take. This is horrible. You know, this could have happened, and Acerbate just like, what, loses material, right? I mean, you're just losing a pawn here for nothing. So I was just telling him, he needs to calculate more. Acerbate is just, he's simply not calculating until he thinks he sees something good for himself. You know, it just doesn't seem like he's really calculating enough for the other player. In this case, like a very forced variation that just leads to a clear win of a pawn. No, there's no excuse here. I mean, the problem is there is no good move for white. You know, knight c4, a subtle Botvinnik style move. I mean, I'm still not convinced by this. That's a pretty subtle line to be able to find. The only way white doesn't end up worse in this position, probably, to play knight c4. Very tough move to find. The principle behind this is keeping pieces on the board when you have less space, like in the Benoni. Okay, so you got lucky. d4, he doesn't take, and then bishop d3. Computer gave us a question mark. Not really sure why. Oh, I see. So you just take on d4 first, and then there'll be like knight e5, de5, followed by queen a5 check. Black will pick up this pawn with check at the end of the day. So this doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. I don't know what does cut it here for white, though. I just don't see a great move. Don't see anything special for white. Too many pawn moves. How many pawn moves? 4 pawn moves already. Black with quite a few already. Move 11, welcome. Great to see all my subscribers here, friends. Subscriber stream. We're gonna try to get through 11 games. So, okay, this is a mistake. He can take, and play queen a5 check, and then take on e5 with check, and be up a pawn for nothing, essentially. But he missed that. No, he didn't miss it, because Acerbate just doesn't play take back. He plays this, and so he just loses central pawn. This is incredible. Acerbate, it claims here Acerbate was 1 inaccuracy, 1 mistake, 21 cent a pawn loss. There's your 1 accuracy, there's your 1 mistake. Now Acerbate's going to have to play perfectly for the rest of the game. Castles. Good decision. And basically it's like a Mora or some kind of Milner-Barry. And not a very good one. White is down a pawn for essentially nothing in this position. So it's a bad Milner-Barry. That's a line in the advanced French. He doesn't make any more mistakes, though, it looks like. Let's turn off the engine. I can't even watch h4. Oh, boy. h4 Ponda. Yeah, we like that move, but normally we like to have a rook. We like to have a rook behind that, man. We like to have a rook behind that h4 pawn. I mean, if you're going to do that, it would be wise to, like, you know, not castle and play king f1 or something. This is total desperation. I'm not trying to criticize Acerbate or humiliate him, but this is a really bad position. And h4 looks silly. Okay, h4, queen c7, h5. You know, that's the kind of thing I would do if I was drunk or completely on tilt. Maybe on move 1 and 2. But here, really without the rook behind it, I don't think it has a lot of effect. Now, if he does ignore it forever, I mean, h6 could soften up his king side. But I don't know, you know, how we're going to really exploit those. Even if we can play h6, how are we going to exploit those weaknesses around the black king side? Ow! So this is how you win at chess. You slip him a $20 bill under the table, he drops you a knight, you know, and then it's over. Queen takes g4. Little sneaky attack against the queen here. So basically black just gave him a piece. And then there's no more mercy from Acerbate after that. No mercy. Bishop h6, nice move. See, he sees tactics for himself when he's on the attack. What he's not looking for are things for the opponent sometimes. g6, Knight d5. Put him in an attacking position. He can beat anybody. And then it's almost mate. This is just annihilation. Threatening mate in 2. And that does not help mate. Okay, man. What can I say? That was sloppy. It was a sloppy game. Nice finish. Aspirate needs to take his time. And, I mean, going back, I don't even like a4. I understand this expansion might make you nervous. You know, if that's the case, then maybe c4 is a much more constructive way to play. You know, get a little control of the center while stopping. Whilst stopping. When do you say whilst? Whilst stopping b5. Mathematic Chess says he submitted his early. Mathematic Chess. You submitted yours, you'll see right here. It is 22 minutes ago. That was literally the last, you said you submitted it early, but that's literally the last one I got. Now I got one a week ago. Is it the same thing, or is that last week's? Is that last week's? Last week's 1 week ago. Closed variation, traditional. It's the same thing. All right. So if it's the same thing, you didn't get it in last week, right? Well, what am I looking at? You were trying to submit that. So we didn't get to it last week. So technically, we didn't get to last week. Could be first today. It's the same thing. Okay. So then, all right, we'll count it. You sent it to me a week ago. Let's take a look. So we'll cross you off the end of the list and make it now. Because it was confusing, and I don't like lichess messages. It's the best thing we've got right now. Okay, so Mathematic Chess is white here. e4. So, Sicilian again. The theme of the day, close Sicilian. Alright, now Bishop e5. This is a variation that I've tried to play myself with white. It's driven me crazy with black. And it's frustrating to play against this line. Mule Skinner plays it against me. Morales, we haven't seen lately. He's been kind of MIA. But it's hard for you guys in Europe, like 5 or 6 hours ahead, to watch my streams. I understand. So Bishop e5, it's a really good variation. Although I've had bad results with it personally. Trying to play it myself, I lost at least once or twice. Maybe one. So g6. Yeah, I mean, I think g6 is weird. I mean, it seems like the best for black is to play knight d4. But that's also not so simple. And the bishop c4 or even knight f3. Both these variations are playable for white. So this is a good line. I would keep playing it. g6, not a particularly great variation. And at this point, you know, what you have is a kind of Rossalimo with your knight on c3 already. I mean, you're not obligated to play bishop takes c6, but I like it if you turn it into a Grand Prix attack now. I had a game long time ago against this guy Farkas Tibor, who's a Hungarian IM. I think I actually had this against him, where he basically let me take on c6 and then play f4. This would be the idea. I'm just not sure. You know, yeah, I mean, it seems like against d takes or b takes, like either way, you're playing f4. The idea would be to play a souped up a souped up Grand Prix attack, where the exchange on c6 is useful for white. So I think the Grand Prix attack is the way to go. You should exchange and play and turn it into a good Grand Prix attack. That's clearly white's best. There's nothing wrong with what you did. You could also just try f4. Mule Skinner, for example, plays both the Grand Prix attack and this line. Actually, the Morales as well. So 2 of our subscribers. It's good to play different, you know, systems within one opening. But so I think you have like a number of options. But typically, like, you want to play for this attack along the f file. So something involving f4. I wouldn't give black a second chance to play knight to d4. I would just chop that knight, you know, on c6. in a closed position, black's bishop pair isn't really that great, and particularly this bishop on c8 is very, very difficult to use. So you can see white has an immense score in this position. Amazingly, it's happened to 600 some games. I mean, white is like scoring 50% wins. That you don't even see that, you know, like in any open. That's outrageous to see that kind of score at 50%. Okay, so knight f3. You're just gonna like transpose to another variation now, but I don't like blocking your f pawn. You know, it seems like that's not optimal. You're like transposing back into another line. So bishop g7, and again, now we're back into theory. You can still take. It's not as good now without the ability to play f4 as it was. So, I mean, I just typically don't want to block my f pawn. Your knight would, it might even be better on e2 than on f3. So let's see, d3, and then black plays e6, and this changes the calculations a little bit. Sorry, so d6, sorry, e6. Yeah, if I'm black here, I'm probably playing knight d4. Also, I guess d6 is playable. You might even be able to play e5. I mean, I don't think e5 is that bad. But e6, and I don't know, the computer doesn't like this position for black at all. I don't think it's that bad. But again, you should take. You should take and double the pawns, because now, however he plays this, if he plays this way, he has no... It's funny, look, someone on sound brings up, there goes the dark squares. And yeah, I mean, I think that's true in a lot of positions, but I think maybe the bigger problem here would be, okay, black's going to have to get this bishop out somehow. You know, how's he going to come out on this diagonal? He's going to have to lose a tempo at least. He's going to have to lose a tempo at least playing e5, d6. But again, I don't like the knight on f3. Okay, so you just did this, which invites knight d4. Invites knight d4 to be played effectively here. You don't want to trade your dark squared bishop, because again, like someone on sound said, the dark squares are weak. And you can't take with a knight now, so knight d4 is a really strong move. He refused to play that. And at this point, you can actually turn the tables and play d4, it looks like. I've always just learned not to move king pawns. But you can't generalize like that. A closed Sicilian like f4 is probably the most formative idea in terms of attacking. The single most important move. You shouldn't be playing the closed Sicilian. If you want to not move your kingside pawns, then you should play something with d4. Maybe, you know, open game, you can perhaps get away with not moving your kingside pawns so much. Even there, you're going to probably have to move your f pawn at some point to attack. But it looks like d4 to me at this point. That starts to look good. I mean, you won the battle for d4, and then why not play it now? I think at this point it's strong. But this is fine, you know. And you could also play d4. Now if he plays e5, he's basically transposing to what looks like a normal Rossolimo, where he's just down a move because he played e6, e5 in 2 moves. There goes the dark squares. What was mentioned earlier starts to become a factor. But I don't think it's fatal. I don't think it's fatal for black here. You know, going back a minute, you really ought to consider not castling kingside automatically in this position. I think that, like, if you played this, if you had this game 100 years ago, Chigorin or someone would probably. I was criticizing Astrobate earlier, but I mean, in some situations you might want to play like to play h4, h5. Let's see. All right, anyway, it's fine. It's fine. You trade off his bishop pair, and this is an interesting move. It just loses a pawn, but there may be some price. No, I mean, it's just a pawn. So it's a tough call, and what you did isn't too bad, but objectively, I mean, it's hard to kind of... I don't know, man. I mean, I just can't really justify not taking that free pawn. If there's some concrete problem with this, I mean, I'm gonna come off as kind of materialistic, but okay, it's a different approach. I mean, I think this is definitely a good move. You're a clear pawn up. This is a different move where you're playing for like attack in the middle game. So, you know, they're both reasonable. He's got the bishop, that's a problem. Now h4, you did like acerbate. Like right now, I wish you castled queenside and played h4, h5. If your king is on c1 and your queen rook is on d1, you're winning very quickly. But now it's like not as powerful. The h4. Okay, so you just blundered here. So he's got this, and then when you eliminate that, your d4 pawn falls. So you could consider playing like h5, threatening h6, or you could consider just bringing your rook to the center. Either way, you're good. But this move just totally fails. And now your kingside is shattered, and even h4 could be detrimental to white. So the whole position just fell apart in one move. I mean, you're basically gone from clearly better to virtually lost because of one move. I mean, chess is, you know, that can happen. I mean, you could just drop a piece. This is the next worst thing to just dropping a piece. He sticks a knight on f5, the eternal outpost. This is going. Yeah, you're done here. So, but he makes a really gross move. I mean, queen takes d4. He has a chance to undouble his pawns. I mean, c takes d4. To undouble those pawns looks great. I was thinking even just like knight f5. I mean, just knight f5 going for a kingside attack and forget about material is extremely strong because this is coming down. I think this is actually one of his worst options, queen d4. And you didn't trade queens, which is probably a wise decision. So there are still some tricky threats, but this is attacked the second time, so it looks like we have to play f4. You played h5. In order to stop him from trading queens, it appears you have to play f4 just to physically like stop this queen h4. Yeah, I mean, he just plays queen h4 and you're gonna die in that position. And if you trade queens, you might as well just resign because you have the worst pawn structure. You're already down a pawn. Your remaining pawns are weak. All he has to do is trade queens, and the position just like wins itself. But he played this, which looks risky. He's not trading queens, and he's endangering his own king. Yeah, queen takes definitely. He still wants to trade queens, and you don't really want to trade queens here because you're down a pawn. So if there's a way to avoid it, I would look for it. But I don't see a great move, to be honest. I don't see a great move. I would look at something like maybe queen g4. At least consider it. But you played this. And he doesn't trade queens. I mean, he's up a pawn. He has a safe king if the queens leave the board. Clearly he was afraid of bringing your knight to g5, but I mean, come on, it's like just one move threat against e6. Yeah, I could see that though. I could see that. It's awkward. I mean, you probably thought like here, you bring another piece to attack. He probably thought about this and thought, okay, I don't want to bring his knight to g5. So he doesn't trade queens, makes this weird queen move, and then this move. Now you've got all your pieces developed except for this rook on f1. Yeah, and then I don't know. Black just blundered. Yeah, I saw this guy. Okay, so this name is familiar. Yeah, I don't know if I played him. I did play him once. Wow, he just spaced and played h6. Ooh, that's amazing. So queen e7 check, and then rook d7, and you're actually winning. And you probably saw rook g8, but I mean the point is that after queen takes rook g8, you have mate in 1. So yeah, it's a strange blunder from a guy of this rating. It really is. But I think he underestimated you. Rook d7, king h8, and you had the same feeling, like it was too good to be true. But you're actually just winning. The guy's rating is very high. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, too high to be playing that kind of move. If this is simul or something, I could understand maybe, but not in a heads-up game. That's weird. He just like didn't respect you enough or something. So you actually blundered. Wow. And then it got kind of bizarre. I mean, the white king is definitely worse off than the black king. Very important is his knight in f5, defending his king side. And so you get an endgame, complicated position. Both sides have weak pawns, you know, so anything can happen here. I like the fact that black has outside pawns. I like the fact that white has the centralized king. But I think the outside pawns are more important, so he's better. Wow, so there's an Arabian mate. Oh my god. This is called Arabian mate. Rook e7. There's no way to prevent it. A great book I was talking to Acerbate about for the stream, an old Dover paperback called The Art of the Checkmate by the French authors Renaud and Kahn, was a classic kind of like beginner's book, but it illustrates a lot of classic mating attacks and patterns and sacrificial ideas. This is one of them. So no way to stop it. But that was, you know, much like Acerbate's game, very sloppy game by both sides. Basically, you should have been lost after e5, you know, and against a player like this, it's over normally, but I don't know. All right, that was great. So we've got Warnaki up next. Thanks, guys, for submitting games. Hi, managed to play a somewhat weird opening against my opponent in 3-0 very fast, time control. What's up, everybody? I had a huge day of work today, prepping for a massive estate sale at my house. I'm going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll see how it goes. 8 a.m. tomorrow, the doors open. Crazy people start coming in and buying everything in my house. All right. As white, the knight move was in the opening was a miss. It was a phone slip. Totally lost. In the middle game, was very lucky my opponent was low on time. Any ideas how I should have thought in the middle game? Okay. Phone slip might be normal people. Well, I think it takes a special variety of people to, you know, to go to sales like that. Yeah, there'll be nice people, crazy people, a cross section of the world. C4, knight f6, knight h3. Yeah, I played knight h3 for fun sometimes. On move 1, I played it against FIDE Master Joel Horvat, and I luckily didn't. I made a draw in an epic game, but yeah, it doesn't really work. I've tried to do this a lot. It almost never really works well. The knight is just better in the center. Of course, you know, it's not that bad, though. It's not that bad. And in fact, in some variations of the closed Sicilian, black plays like knight h6. This is in English. It's a reverse Sicilian. I'm not going to be a rich man after the sale. Dempsey Hooligan. I'm not going to be a rich man after the sale, but hopefully we'll make enough money to make a profit and pay for cleaning out the whole house and pay for the sale, which is not cheap, and just basically move things along towards selling my house. So, but I'll make some money, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. I'm not planning on investing in Hungary. All right, so knight h3. We'll see. d5. Yeah, d5 is a strange move from black right away. Knight h3 is not that bad. If you're going to make a mouse slip, I mean, I don't think that's that bad. So d5, I just don't like, you know. You're like, hey, trade your flank pawn for my central pawn. Happily take it. I would happily take this. Yeah, this move, no. I mean, I just take. You're trading a c pawn for the d pawn toward the center, and if the queen takes, you have knight c3 with tempo. I think this is just, you know, definitely take while he doesn't have a pawn to support his center. All right. I can see how this might work. You know, maybe like he tries something stupid. Bishop takes h3, g takes h, queen takes d5. He thinks he's smart because I like white. I like white here. I mean, maybe it's not better for white, but it's very playable. Open file, 2 bishops, central pawn mass. I think I'm very happy if they ever take on h3. All right, so d5 is bad. You should take it. You play d3. Yeah, now this is just terrible. You have to play queen a4 check here. What you want to do is maintain the integrity of your pawn islands. This island here is like the Bahamas, and over here is Bermuda or something like that, you know. And we want to have the larger island. We want to have as large an island as possible, ideally, because the larger islands just sort of are more resistant to storm damage and stuff like that. Beach erosion. This island's now, like, they break up after this. It's like a tectonic shift with d takes c4. So you've now broken your islands into 2 medium-sized islands. But I would definitely prefer the 5-pawn island. You know, so you play queen a4 check, and you're going to grab it with the queen. You're going to take with the queen here on c4, which isn't so bad, actually. So erosion, Tigran erosion. Bishop d7, but this is not bad. We've got f7. The queen is active, but not too exposed. That's an important move to know. You know, basically, you shouldn't play d3 if you're planning on recapturing like this. So, what you got now is a bad position. Your king is trapped in the center. c4 is actually a weakness, and black has a slight lead in development, and you can't castle. You know, so you're seriously worse. But I would not blame knight h3. You know, you can blame d3, but definitely not knight h3 is not the problem. Bishop takes h3. Actually, that's good for you. This is very good for you. It's not good for your pawn structure, but overall, I think it's a bad exchange for black. Trading that powerful bishop for a sideways knight, playable, but not my preference here. And now e5. I mean, I'm not sure if he should even play e5. Okay, but anyways, e5 is probably not too bad, as long as he can play like c6 to sort of slow down that bishop on g2. He doesn't want to put too many pawns on dark squares. He has black bishop. You have both colored bishops. If he puts the pawns on dark squares, he weakens his white squares, and he also blocks his own bishop. Bishop g2, so c6 is good. Knight c3, bishop b4. I don't mind this. King c2. You came out of this all right, actually. You know, the way he played this, your king is pretty good on c2. I like the fact that you have the bishop pair, and I think that despite, you know, the doubled pawns, the pawn on c4, which could be a weakness, you escaped the maximum, you know, problems. Your king actually worked out really well here on c2. Imagine if he hadn't played bishop b4 for a second. Imagine if he had played like knight a6 instead. So he doesn't commit this piece, and if you try to go king c2, you're going to have this somewhat, you know, annoying move. knight b4. I mean, you'll probably walk out to b3 and take your chances, but anyways, you know, clearly on bishop b4, king c2 is a nice place to go. Castles. Now his king is away from the center in the end game. A3. All right. And then I would just think here about what we're trying to do. Maybe b4, bishop b2, try to attack the pawn on e5. I think you've got to think about the d file. Very limited though. Both sides will put rooks on the d file. Probably nothing happening there. Knight a4 was an interesting move. I mean, you might go to c5, but it's early in the game and you're still not fully developed. Now he stopped you. Yeah, that's a problem. I don't like this knight here. What's it doing? Rook d1 here. This is a strange move by black. b4 is fine. Bishop c7, and then this. Yeah, this move is the worst move you've played. Probably knight c5. I don't know. Why would you want to voluntarily double your pawns? Doesn't seem right. I would evaluate this position as like kind of about equal. It almost makes you wish his pawn was back on e6 for him. Like I said, his pawn's blocking. But this is bad. You know, now I admit like you have open files for your rooks and stuff, and Botvinnik like doubled pawns in the center a lot, but not a whole lot to do now. You know, you really have the two pairs of double pawns. You know, there's no breaks. You can pressurize b7 a little bit, and I think that's your idea. But he'll eventually play, you know, he'll play b6. Actually, b6 may not be that easy. So he is tied down to b7. All right, so his plan should be, yeah, try to pick off the c5 pawn. It's not so easy. Yeah, so as ugly as your position is, you're not really much worse. And it's hard for black to do anything. Rook d8, rook d8, rook d8, bishop b2, bishop there, rook d1. Okay, so this endgame now, all of a sudden, maybe you'd benefit more from not trading all the rooks here. If we go back a sec. Because right now it doesn't look like there's a whole lot that black can really do. And I would think about these factors, like what would happen if there's two rooks? What would happen if there's just one rook on the board? I think one important factor is his knight can go to d7 here and attack that pawn. You can answer with bishop e3 though. It's surprisingly difficult for his pieces to attack your c5 pawn. But what about attacking b7? You know, what if you were to go like here? Rook b1. How is he going to protect that pawn without, you know, incurring more weaknesses by playing b6 or something? He'd probably like trade a set of rooks and put his other rook on b8. But now he's like frozen there. You know, there's nothing he can do. You can meet knight d7 with like bishop e3. I would say, you know, he'll try to surround your c5 pawn. Becomes a little tricky. It becomes a bit tricky. So maybe black's getting a little bit better there. Do I have to attack that pawn? I was thinking of maneuvering the light square bishop. Well, I mean, you could maneuver it to h3 or something. But I don't think there's that many things to do here. But I think the more pieces you trade off, the more significant your pawn structure weaknesses will be. And that goes for both sides. I mean, this damage to your pawn structure in a king and pawn endgame is possibly, you know, serious. Or a knight endgame, forget about it. But if you have a lot of pieces on the board, think about your rooks, man. Think about the fact if the rooks are on the board, double pawns lead to open files. But the double pawns with just bishops on the board, I'm not sure. I like this. I mean, you were talking about maneuvering your white square bishop, probably h4 with the idea of bishop h3. But now he's playing f6, bishop h3, knight takes c5, and good luck, you know. White is hanging on by his fingernails here. I just don't think you should trade the rooks. You know, I just don't think you should trade both sets of rooks. Maybe one set of rooks, but not both sets of rooks when you have the sort of static weakness of the bad pawn structure. The other thing is that rooks and bishops tend to work pretty well together. My preference would have been to keep one set of rooks on the board, probably here. The more you trade, the more those like minor weaknesses in the pawn structure are going to matter. f3 is kind of ugly. Yeah, I mean, after f6, I don't know what to suggest. You know, the best you can do is just play h4, like I said. But f3 did not really help you in any way. There goes the pawn. I mean, we could say f3, it protected e4, but your bishop has nowhere to, no job. I mean, it would be better to play h4, bishop h3 in the first place. Although you would have had to play f3 to defend the e4 pawn. And this is basically suicide. In an already bad situation, you should not trade pieces here at all. Keep your practical hope alive. I mean, if you keep the bishops on, maybe you get an opposite color bishop endgame and can save it down 2 pawns. So, yeah, I think like h4, bishop h3, try to avoid exchanging any more pieces. This is over. And black's crazy. It's just an ideal endgame for black. Bishop takes bishop. You have the good knight, pawn up, better structure. I mean, this will take a while for black to convert, but I have to imagine that black's winning chances here are close to 100%. So bishop b6 was crazy. Just tragic, you know, not trading pieces here. And that's now very, very difficult and maybe impossible. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be 2 pawns down. He's going to win the h2 pawn. Or you push your pawns up and you lose the h4 pawn. You're going to lose one of your h pawns. And basically you're going to be down a pawn on each side. And this is going to be tricky because if the pawns are far enough apart, I'm just looking forward to the endgame like 20 moves from now. You know, if we reach a situation where black has 2 passed pawns, one on each side of the board somehow, that can be like a win. Even if it's opposite colored bishop, he gets his king in the best possible position, wiggles his way in there, ties you down, gets a passed pawn on the queen side, then he advances, gets a passed pawn on the other side, and then it's hard to stop them when they're separated. It's actually fairly easy to stop them if sometimes if they're together. You could even like sack your bishop for both or something like that. This is going to be really tough. I got to go through all the games, so I mean, think here. You don't want to decentralize your king. You ought to just play a4 at this point. You know, your king walking away from the center. You're going to need that in the center of the board to stop his king from penetrating. You don't want your king being tied down to this pawn. Forget about the h2 pawn. That's gone. Now you played a4. See, but now his king, you know, could walk in here and basically make your life a living, you know what. So your king is one step further away than it really needed to be. All right. You're paralyzed. So let's see. He's wheedling his way in here. Yeah, that looks pretty problematic. For starters, so you won on time. It was a 3-0 game. I mean, whatever. But like realistically, this is a tough endgame. I mean, I don't know. All right. Let's move on. So good 40%. Somewhat unsound is next. Somewhat unsound. Mr. Coffee, what's up, my friend? Mr. Coffee submit a game? Mr. Coffee's staying out to give everyone else a chance. But he's our most generous donator this week. You know, I don't want you to feel like you can't submit a game, Mr. Coffee, because you're the moderator. You know, you're also a subscriber, also, you know, generously donated to support the stream. So not only our moderator, but also an important subscriber. So if you feel like it, don't feel like you know, you shouldn't submit a game. Anyway, I don't know if there was a preface here with this game. Did he say something? Somewhat on sound? Hi, William. Yes. The game is an interesting spot where it gets very sharp opposite side castling. Opposite side castling. I'm most interested in the front end of the game, as once we get into the actual attack, it's pretty much over. Well, I've been there. I don't like playing someone on sound. He's a tough player. Okay, so the front end of the game. So before your attack becomes too decisive. Let's see. All right, if anybody's gonna fight on the stream, I'm just gonna time out set offenders. I'm not gonna play babysitter or play favorites, but nobody's gonna like have little childish fights. Bob, if you don't want someone to speak to you, why don't you just block them? All right, rather than like commenting about it in the stream. You know, let's not make a soap opera out of it. All right. Let's do this. Knight f3, d6, bishop e3. So this isn't as my parish really kind of line with black. He likes to play the modern. This interesting move order here. What's the independent significance? Okay, knight f3, d6, bishop e3. Bishop. What's the secret here? I play knight f3 against me. I always play knight f3 against everybody all the time. It's easy, it's lazy. That's what I do. But I'm not thinking critically. So what's up with bishop e3? Is this some sort of secret move or something? It's a 150 attack. It, you know, keeps the 150 attack ready, basically. If knight f6, we're ready to go with the 150 attack. Hoping to maybe get to h6 before he castles. But I think it's like, it's an unusual move order, and I'm trying to think about what it does and what, you know, weak sides it has, what downsides it might have. One of the downsides, you're not protecting e4, but e4 can only really be attacked by knight f6, which transposes to a standard sort of Pierce. Can black play c5? I don't know if someone mentioned that or not. c5 because b2 is weak, you know. Mathematic chess. I mean, I think it depends. If you live in the United States, mathematic chess, like the most important thing is that you play in US Chess Federation rated tournaments. The larger ones will possibly be FIDE rated, but the USCF rated ones are the main idea. So black goes bishop g4. Yeah, I mean, this isn't really played. Knight f7, knight d6. Okay, c6 is an interesting move. c6 is an interesting move, like trying to get in queen b6 and maybe like poison pawn. Go after this. Look at the score here. Wow, 7 games and white managed 2 draws. Nice job, white. So actually, this makes you think it's not a big sample size, but still, these are pretty decent players. They're all... I don't know if the second game is correspondence or not, but they're all good games. I think c6 is interesting here. I don't like bishop g4. Knight f6 just transposes. Yeah, Mr. Coffee can give you advice about playing in tournaments. He is like a tournament director. Yeah, this is weird. So it looks like c6 is his best chance. I was wondering if black can play c5. Now this is kind of weird, you know, because if you play knight c3, we're just going to transpose to the dragon. That hardly seems like you're taking advantage of, like, you know, black's move order or anything. You see now, the engine like c3 here. Because I'm not impressed by knight c3. That looks like it just transposes. I mean, you want to play something that can be individually useful, independently useful against c5. So the engine is saying c3. I don't know. I mean, this actually could transpose to a c3 Sicilian, some sort of c3 d6 variation. Interesting. Anyway, I never really thought about this. Bishop e3. Bishop g4 doesn't seem to take advantage of it, though. Bishop e2. But, you know, you could even play... I guess you could even play queen d2 if you want to. I mean, who cares about bishop takes f3 at this point? You know, you're just interested in... You're interested in a kingside attack. You know, you don't care about your pawns being doubled there. I mean, that's fine. So bishop e2. We're likely going to transpose to a... Yeah, now you're going to transpose to a classical Pearts. And I think the bishop g4 is just a kind of normal line now. As my Parashvili. This is a little weird, because in the normal lines of the classical Pearts, black either plays c6 or bishop g4. Move 11, that's what we were just looking at. You know, c3. Well, against c5 in particular. But I don't get c6 bishop g4. It's usually not necessary to play both of those moves. c6 aimed at limiting the knight on c3 from Ginger64. Well, I mean, I think it actually incorporates other ideas. You know, obviously the queen could come out, but the main line of the Pearts classical is basically knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, castles, bishop e2. When black either plays bishop g4 or c6, but usually, you know, it's like one or the other, not both. Even queen c7 is an idea. Yeah. I never really thought about it in terms of what Ginger64 said. It's a good point. I mean, the pawn kind of does limit the knight on c3. But anyways, all right. I mean, not much to comment on here. Okay, it's just a position, queen d2. But typically, you don't, you know, you don't castle queenside in a classical Pearts, except it's kind of like a 150 attack. But if you play the 150 attack, you don't bother with like bishop e2, right? I mean, what I'm saying is that it's just like leave it on f1, pretend it's a Yugoslav dragon, and attack, you know. So I'm just castling kingside here, you know, if this is me. But once I lost a really bad game to strong grandmaster, where I was white in the classical Pearts, and I did this, and I ended up like, he played e5 somehow, and I was like, oh crap, why am I trading off his bad bishop, you know? Bishop h6, you know, doesn't necessarily initiate an attack in in a sort of kingside castling type situation, it might be bad. You know, it might even be bad. Like in that case where I played Vadim Milov, I ended up like trading my own good bishop for his bad bishop. You know, I think if you're not attacking him, you ought to not do it. In other words, if you're not going to launch some kind of real attack here, it's better off not playing bishop. You're better off not playing bishop h6. So you can see like most people played h3, which is like a lazy move. I mean, castles is what I would probably just castle and keep this bishop, thinking like this bishop is actually a good bishop. The bishop on g7, you know, if he ends up playing e5, might end up being a very bad bishop actually. And that's why against Milov I was like, what am I doing? You know, I'm like trading his own bad bishop off. So bishop h6. Bishop h6 is not necessarily always a good thing. Knight bd7, bishop takes g7. Here's a game. Lerner, Kanzler, both good players. Alright, so it's funny, the computer wants to play e5, which is nice because it would make sure he can't get an e5. If he gets an e5, I like his structure in the way that he made that. I think if he gets an e5, it's a good structure. He has a good bishop, or he has two knights versus bad bishop and knight. If trades on f3, all this stuff seems decent for black. Yeah, I think the players all levels should study Grandmaster games. I agree with Warnacki. Players of all levels, from like 1,000 onward, very, very good to study top level games with annotations. It doesn't matter what level you are. Even if you don't understand a lot of the concepts, you know, you're just not developing bad habits. Yeah, I mean, you'd rather see the commentary from the actual player than some arbitrary guy on YouTube or something like that. So bishop takes f3, bishop takes f. So this is what I'm talking about here. You know, we end up with a kind of bad bishop, traded off our good bishop, and now you play d5, and I already like black. Yeah, this is a great position for black. But why would you play d5 here? Castle's queenside, that's what Lerner did. I think the position is about equal. But putting the pawn on the white square, someone on sound, you know, just doesn't seem to make your position better. You're flirting with like a very bad endgame with like Marazzi, white square bishop against bad knight. I mean, good knight against bad bishop. So yeah, it just, that was the way that there was another game. Didn't we see another game? Check this out. So that was, I thought there was e5 after the exchange. Wait. So we saw this, we saw this, we saw this. h3, but wasn't this a move? We looked at this, or maybe the computer suggested this. Even though it seems like you're overextending yourself, if you place your pawns on dark squares rather than white squares, you might be happier in the long run. Because this situation is like an Alyakin's defense. You have to calculate whether or not that pawn gets overextended. But I think I'd be happy not to have my pawn stuck on the white squares if I can manage it. Yeah, Lerner just played h3. I mean, maybe this was like a friendly draw, though. I mean, you can't really judge. You know, maybe this was like the Israeli Team Championship 2009, and these guys agreed to a draw in like 15 moves before the game or something. You know, who knows if this is even a real game. Bishop takes f3, e5, d5. I like black already, but I don't like the next move, c5. c5 seems kind of weird. I mean, it's not terrible, but you're thinking that maybe black would be better off with a knight on c5, maybe a5. Of course, he has to watch for his pawn on d6. Once against Dmitry Gurevich, I like just dropped my pawn on d6. Like, it was a black side of a classical King's Indian. We were playing in the New York Open, and somehow I just like forgot, and I let him like take on c6 and you know, en passant or just directly. It was ridiculous, you know. I played on for like 30 moves because I was embarrassed, but you know, it's embarrassing to just like drop your pawn on d6. Okay, c5, h4. There you go. You're getting your pawns on the right color. Good move. Yeah, I mean, if I'm black here, I'm not necessarily always going to play h5 because, again, the question of color complex. But black has to be careful. Maybe something like h6, h5, rook h8. He'll try to hold that dark square. Because honestly, if he plays g5, I'm already looking at knight d1, knight e3, knight f5. With a very, very big problem for black on the king side. If h6, why not g4? Well, you can play whatever you want. Yeah, maybe g4 is better. I agree. I just wanted to show you the idea of h5, g5, knight d1, and knight f5. I mean, he can't really forfeit that f5 square, you know, without serious ramifications. So, but I think he made a big mistake with c5. And then, okay. So at this point, it's all bets are off. I mean, I would seriously consider playing b5 here. I mean, if this was like a blitz game, you know, maybe you could just automatically play b5. So the b file is terrifying. I mean, the point would be knight takes b5, and you could play knight. Maybe you can play knight a3, knight c4. But I'm still not sure if you wanna do that. You know, obviously it's safer for black to prepare b5 with a6. The computer gives him a dubious for that move. It's like the most logical move in the world. Dubious. Very subtle attacking play here. Subtly unsound is his new name. Rook dg1, b5, and so he could preempt you with rook h8. That was the best defense, it looks like. Setting himself up a little better defensively before you come with the caveman. Before you pull him by the hair out of his kingside shelter. Alright, b5, knight d1. Oh no, knight d1's not necessary. Alright, a little later. b4, knight d1. Oh, you went to e2. Yeah, I'm in love with d1. I love this square. I love the e3 square because it's got knight c4 and it's got knight f5. I mean, there's nothing wrong, I guess, with knight e2. Obviously, we're a little concerned about dropping that e4 pawn. That's probably not going to matter, right? Either way, if he went to d1, he's still got that. You know, what are you going to do? Jeez, that's a problem, actually. The engine thinks you should play knight d1, circumventing his threat of b4. This is weird. So what's going on here? g4, b4. He doesn't play... Oh, you play knight e2. Okay, so he doesn't play h takes g, but why? H takes g, bishop takes g4, knight takes c4. I mean, he could try to steal your central pawn. You know, what's happening here? hg, bishop takes g4, knight takes e4, queen e3. It's a tempo. And you just go plowing forward, the steamroller. So the steamroller just keeps rolling. f5 weakens g6. Keep an eye posted for strange beings. b4, knight e2, queen a5. So the engine actually thinks knight takes g4 was even better, but this is the first thing you have to analyze for both sides. How dangerous is this? Does this lose too much time? If f5 is too weakening, then the other stuff is slow. Going back, h5, he just keeps rolling forward like a tidal wave. Yeah, I mean, it does look kind of dangerous, so I'm not sure how much someone on sound calculated, or he just kind of, you know, got lucky, but his intuition is good. You know, I mean, he's played a long time. I think he understood that his attack is fast enough to sack that pawn. So either way, and then queen a5, king b1. Okay, and now it's just, yeah. Imagine the difference if black had played like c takes d5 instead of c5 or something. If the position was like slightly more open or black had access to the c file, he could maybe have a little bit more going, you know. But now it looks all white in this position. It just looks like the attack is just a one-way street, and that's what we said. That's what we said from the beginning. He said just focus on that. So it's a wipeout now. It's just a wipeout. His attack is too strong. Everything's lined up. Easy. Easy money. White's attack is too fast. So it's over. Just exposing the black king. The black king is exposed. Black king, yeah, not good. This is over. Chop, chop. Ugh, that's not good. That's not good. And that's the best he's got. There's not much to see here. Just move along, people. Nothing to see here. Let's finish that up. So pretty much a wipeout. But Mr. Coffee, someone on sound. I think the biggest question in that game is when you get to that situation where the dark square bishops are getting exchanged. Are you doing the right thing, you know, in the right moment? All right, let's go to the next game. We got to fit a lot of games in. We've got another hour, and we've got quite a few games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go a little over because we started late. You know, we're going to go like 10 or 15 minutes over the normal time. But that still gives us an hour and 10, 15 minutes. All right. Thank you guys for subscribing. Mr. Coffee, Jim, Asterbait, donating the most to speak. Obviously to all the subscribers. We are going to have our streams Friday and Sunday. Friday Blitz stream, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday Simul, same thing. I'm doing a big estate sale at my house this weekend, so it's going to be kind of crazy. Hopefully I'm not exhausted, but basically working all day long on that. All right, good 40%. We're not taking challenges or playing on Thursdays. Good suggestion from Uber driver. Drink some Gatorade. All right. My soccer coach, when I was a little kid, he just reminded me of, like, instead of Gatorade, he would just like make us eat like oranges or something. Strange how these like weird memories pop up. Orange slices or something. That just came out of nowhere. Thanks for bringing that up, Uber driver. Gatorade. I thought of the thought of the Gatorade made me think of that like giant Gatorade container when I played like junior league soccer. All right, never liked soccer though. I don't like running for no reason. I like never scored many goals, and it was just like endless running. All right, so another over the board game. No London this time. 75 plus 10. You're white. Correspondence chess, no. So this is Warnaki. I'm sorry, Wasero. We did Warnaki already. Those names are too many letters around the same number of letters with a W that start at the beginning. I get you guys confused. So E4, E6, D4, D5, E5. It's an advanced French. C3 Sicilian players also like this stuff, like Yevgeny Sveshnikov. And somewhat unsound, getting this kind of position out of the good old Smith Mora. C3 Queen B6. This is the only game I ever played in the French. Was the black side of a French advance that I lost against Hikaru. Actually, I played 2. I played 3 Frenches. Okay, I'm lying, but anyway, whatever. I've played 3 Frenches, I think, in my life. c3, queen b6, knight f3, knight c6. Against Hikaru, I played bishop d7, which is another line. That didn't go well. The one time I lost against him. Bishop e2, bishop d7. And so I've had some students who play this stuff with black. I don't know the black side of French that well. I toyed about ideas of playing it. Right, I mean that's the line, but everybody knows that, Uber Driver. That's what I did against Naka, and Wade has a lot of different weapons in those kind of lines. They play c4 as a pawn sacrifice. The systems are pretty well worked out. So I think that black's better off. Black's better off here, you know, playing the traditional lines. I like knight h6. If you want my personal recommendation, I'm a big fan of playing knight h6 on move 1, as many of you know. I call it the 3 a.m. defense. But seriously, I have very good score with knight h6 in blitz chess, but e4 knight h6. The theme here is working very well. You know, I think that you put the knight on h6, bishop takes h6 isn't always usually very good, and the knight can go to f5 without interfering with the bishop on f8. It's kind of a modern idea. Mr. Coffee, I probably suggested this for him. Some other people I know who play the French, but I mean, you can try to do knight e7 sometimes, but you really don't want the queen to get drawn out to c5, so you have to like exchange on d4 first, and then play knight e7. You see, my problem with taking on d4 is that you give white a good square for his knight on c3. So I'm talking about all this stuff from black's perspective here. You are white here though, right? Wasero? I was assuming you were white in this game, right? What does Vida play? Yeah, I mean, he must play the c3 Sicilian. Actually, Levy plays Romanian Grandmaster, who I know. He also plays the Tarash, I think. Michael Adams' favorite. But the thing is, c3 Sicilian players are going to have to play something when they face this e6 type of setup. So they normally go into an advance. There really is no other choice. Castles, cd4. But if Vito Vente got a choice, I think he would prefer to play the white side of the Tarash. I mean, most professionals know that objectively the advance variation doesn't really promise white an advantage. Kasparov for black would always like allow it. Kasparov doesn't even play the French, but he would play the black side of the advance variation happily out of c3 Sicilian move orders because he felt it was harmless. You can, for more info on that, you can get Kasparov's book Revolution in the 70s, where he talks about like the c3 Sicilian and Sveshnikov and stuff. But anyway, c takes d4, c takes d4. So this opens up, and then c3 becomes an avenue for the knight to go, you know, to a4 and possibly c5. So you can see the statistics here are pretty pretty small, but knight h6 scoring notably better than knight e7. Honestly, I'm not sure if it matters a lot at this point. Knight c3. So this is just a really weird move by white. The problem is that I guess Wasera just doesn't know the theory, so he's thinking about how am I going to protect d4? How am I going to protect d4? He thought of some idea of playing very awkwardly queen e2, rook d1. But the point is that you play knight c3, and if knight f5, you can hit his queen with knight a4. And this is a known variation. You can see there's another way to play as well. Knight a3, knight f5, knight c2, and this is another main line. One of the main lines. Oh, you knew the theory, but I knew he studied on my French. All right, well, this just, to me, you know, violates a lot of principles. You're blocking your bishop on c1, your queen's on an awkward square, and we're setting ourselves up to get kind of tied down to the d4 pawn. So I think, you know, I can understand wanting to avoid preparation, but not if it involves playing like patently awkward moves. Knight f5, rook d1. I mean, if black does nothing, you know, maybe white can slowly repulse the black pieces. Bishop b7, now a3. This is a little bit like A3 reminds me a little bit of Asterbait's move A4 in his game, the first one we looked at. Every pawn move you make weakens your position. I mean, if you compare it to the initial position, right? A3 screams knight A5 to me. I mean, that's a known theme anyway for black. So this is very significant. This is a very well-used plan. Knight A5, knight C4. Sometimes he has to do that anyway to just try to get in there on C4 to get the bishop out to maybe B5. When you play A3, you're like waving a red flag. I mean, this knight is not only looking at C4 now, but it's looking at getting into A5 and looking at getting into B3. There's two huge holes over there now. So this is a serious weakening of your queen side. He just completely reacts the wrong way. I mean, while A5 may not be a bad move, it's not really taking advantage of the downside of your move. He's just being like reactionary, the same way Asterbait was with A4 against A6, A5. Okay, A5 is not a bad move. Maybe grab space, but this is clearly taking advantage of you. Your knight can't go to D2. That's another minor point of queen D2. And I don't know. I don't really like the situation after knight A5. Looks like a big problem. Yeah, but that's slow, Wasero, after A5. I mean, that's going to take him 3 moves to exercise A5, A4, knight A5. I mean, by that point, maybe you have something to throw in the works. I'm not sure. Or you know, I don't know. Maybe there's nothing you could do, but maybe you have like knight C3, knight B5. Perhaps A5 is strong as well. So here you realize what's going on. You could have played maybe bishop to B5. Bishop E5 would target the A pawn. But he has knight A5 anyway. But then you'd have takes on D7, check, and knight takes A4, and everything falls apart. Yeah, so why can't you go ahead and play bishop B5? It looks like you're going to actually win the A4 pawn. Knight takes E5, the old Rubinstein, excuse me, Nimzovich trick. Okay. Ouch. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Nothing we can do there. That's bad. Yeah. All right. So we have a serious problem now. We can't really solve it. I was looking with knight B5. That doesn't seem to do anything. Yeah. So there it is. That's not pleasant, you know. That is not really pleasant for white. Very awkward. Perhaps you can try something like G4. That's what you did later. I have no idea what I would do here. I'd be freaking out. You know, G4 just for the sake of it. Like, I've lost games like that for sure. It looks ugly. Like G4, knight H4. I mean, sometimes the bishop gets trapped. You know, knight takes H4, bishop takes H4, G5, queen H3. But I'm assuming that, you know, you're not going to get like 2 moves in a row. If we assume that you don't get 2 moves in a row, perhaps he has time for something like H6. But this actually looks kind of weird, like G6. I'm not sure about this. You know, who is this really good for at the end of the day? It's getting interesting. It's not clear. All right. So bishop F4. This is an awkward move. I mean, not so much because the B2 pawn is hanging. Obviously, that's getting this queen trapped, but this piece just doesn't have any scope here. So just a move, basically. He comes in, rook B1, and then castles kingside. You know, but what white has done here is sort of stop black's counterplay, and he can slowly start pushing black back on the king side, and it looks like that's what's happening. Is it better than trading it off at e3? I don't know. You know, it's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, e3, it's not bad. I mean, oftentimes this is actually good for white in many instances. I mean, that knight is very strong, so it's a tough question. But I'm thinking here, like, black needs to be flexible. Not sure if he should maybe play like knight to c4, perhaps, rather than knight b3. I'm not sure that knight b3 did anything, just attacking for the sake of attacking, but he's gotten a move now. Like, he's got no really useful move. He can't increase the pressure. I mean, maybe something like rook c8, rook c4. I don't know, you know. g4, knight h4, knight h4, bishop h4. And then the classic g5, like I was talking about a minute ago. Good job, Mr. Coffee. Thank you for banning our troll. Knight h4, bishop takes h4, queen h3. If you hadn't done it, I was going to do it, definitely. My spider senses were tingling already. Knight takes h4, bishop takes h4, queen h3. Yeah, g5. So here, he doesn't have the h6 option any longer. But he's getting tied down, and that bishop is in danger of being lost. And it's just a matter of time till it falls. I mean, you probably have to make an awkward move, like queen d8. You probably have to play like queen h3 or queen e3. But now it's like there forever. So that's just like king h1, rook g1, you know, rook g4, and he's going to lose a piece. He's a couple moves away from losing a piece. And obviously f6 is like self-implosion. So maybe f6 the move earlier. Uber driver. Very dangerous game you're playing there, Uber driver. Very dangerous game. I think we're like the first ones to the playground over here. The lunch ladies are calling everyone to the playground, and white is there first. I don't know. Looks kind of good, but maybe this is hanging for real. Can we take this? It looks dangerous for black. I don't like this. Yeah. Yeah, it's just really strong. So yeah, this is a tough game for black because it's kind of like, well, what did he do wrong? You know. But you blundered queen h3, and then queen d8 looks like a reasonable move. I don't really see. You're telling me like bishop d3. So what's the problem here for white? Bishop d3, h6. Why doesn't he play h6? This reminds me of Dragon Kosic, my friend from Serbia, who plays for Montenegro. He's really good. He actually plays the black side of the French too, but he's all really good with space positions. I mean, I could see this like h6, bishop e3, and it's just like, bye-bye, nice knowing you. It's just going to be king h1, f4, I don't know, you know, I mean, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse here. Wow. But is this a blunder? I assume this is just good for white, like bishop d3. I am forced to take. f5 is better. Well, okay, queen d8, bishop d3, so f5 here. But I mean, every takes is good for you. This position is a disaster for black, I would think. Is it okay for black? I mean, this doesn't look okay. You mean take en passant here? And but I'm not liking this. What's going on? So there's some sort of miracle. Black manages to defend and attack at the same time. But I mean, again, like, why do you have to take on f6? Why not this? This looks good. I just think this looks good. You're very happy here, you know. Even if the engine doesn't say it's a huge advantage. You have a protected pass pawn on e5. You move your king over. I think that it's got to be better for white. All right. Anyway, guys, it's taking too long in this game. I gotta move along. So f5, g takes f5. Yeah, this is the game. Yeah, best. E takes f5. Yeah, you don't take this pawn here. Well, you don't take it with the king on h1. I'm 100% sure about that. That rook a6, nice idea. Yeah, wow. Uber Driver, you playing a lot of Blumenfeld gambits lately? Was it you who used to play the Blumenfeld? The Fajarowitz against me? Or was that Merle? Anyone who looks for this rook lift is clearly a what do you call it, Budapest gambit player. I just, you know, see knight d5, but I don't want it to happen when my king is on h1. That's Merle. Okay, I forgot. Sorry, guys. I get you confused. But maybe you have to play knight takes d5 as long as the king's not on h1. It'll be okay. But you got to calculate this carefully because knight takes d5 opens up the game, you know, and it could actually work in black's favor in some ways too. Obviously, there's this file as well. It's an interesting game. I have no idea what's happening. I mean, white looks better because white has the power pawn on e5. White's pieces are a little more aggressively placed. I mean, here, the knight is just hanging, you know, so clearly this looks dangerous for black. He's in a self-pin along the d file. I mean, seriously, I don't know. I mean, but this knight takes d4, yeah, he doesn't need that, I guess. So this is where it gets really bad. Oof. And there's terrible things that are going to happen now with this. That sure worked out well for white. Like, well, it's over now. 2 for the price of 1? No, you've got queen e8. No, it's still over. Bishop f5. Convenient. A convenient truth. Bishop takes a5. It's over. Okay, good game. Not a bad game, though. It was creative. But, I mean, queen d2 was really voluntarily playing a kind of bad move in the opening. It's almost like you were giving black positional odds and then beating him anyway. Okay, so that's that. We've got a whole bunch of games to do. Wow, we were just tapping the surface here. I don't know. We'll have till 8:15, guys. So we have the better part of an hour. Arsenal fan, Blobix, Move 11, Mule Skinner, Stukin, Uber Driver. I've got to get through those 6. Actually, Acerbate, Mule Skinner. Where's Arsenal fan's game? We skipped Arsenal fan. He's not here anyway. This is a game from Wednesday night in the first game for Pool A. I lost to this guy last season. He totally outplayed me. All right, we'll just grab it and put it in a analysis board. So Richard Smith is black. This is Arsenal fans' game from the league in the UK there, in England, with black pieces. Okay. So d4 knight f6. He plays the French sometimes. Arsenal fans playing the Benoni now. He's doing a good job of it, I think. The problem is here, I think that you ought to really consider playing e6 and then going to the Benoni after c4, c5. However, you know, the downsides are minimal. Arsenal's not here. The downsides are minimal, but the upsides are major. So basically after c5, d5, I don't know if I like this for black. You know, a lot of Benoni players play this, but it's basically like a kind of Réti with colors reversed. If you reverse the position and take the knight move back, I mean, obviously white would have more flexibility in choices of setups. You'd be able to play like f3 or whatever. White is committed to knight f3 versus like a normal reversed position. But space is space, and I think that, you know, theoretically, like the best move here is b5. But after bishop g5, black's reputation in this position, it's not that great. So it wouldn't be my choice, but I think it's playable. Now, I don't know what the theoretical status of this is. I mean, is anybody really good? One Carlsen game, you know, so there's a handful of games where Carlsen, Mamedyarov, I wouldn't go by Mamedyarov and Topalov. They're willing to play, you know, especially Mamedyarov will play almost anything. But you got one Carlsen game, you know, one Topalov game, but I don't really like this for black. That's the big problem, you know. That's the only problem, you know, d5. It's the best move, and you have to meet it, and e6 isn't very good, you know, so I think, you know, it's really weird. I mean, knight c3 seems like the problem here, nothing else. This is like a technical line that's better for white. Kramnik, Hu Yifan, goodbye. Hu Yifan's out of her mind to like play something like this. Why don't you just like give Kramnik pawn odds or something? I mean, that is a ridiculous decision for a player like Hu Yifan to play this sort of kind of crappy line for black against Kramnik. Forget about it. You know, just resign like here. Kramnik in 2016. How can you play a great player like that and play a sort of inferior opening? Expect to like even draw? Forget about it. So b5, that's the only chance. Anyway, all right, knight f3, c5, e3. This is just yeah, e3. You know, it's quiet, it's solid, it's okay. Mr. Coffee. A lot of us like this Kali, maybe Zuckertor system. e6. Popular club opening. That's a weird choice. Knight on bd2 though. Bishop d3, you know, probably the main move. And c4 would go back to like kind of more mainstream Queen's Gambit type of stuff. Yeah, of course c4 is a move, move 11. Of course c4 is a move for black. c4 is a move. Oh my god. Where? What are you talking about? c5? What? c4 is a move for black. Like, what are you talking about? After c5, d5? Oh yeah. It's bad enough with colors reversed. I don't even want to look at that. That's ridiculous. Please. I mean, if you look at this position, like knight f3, d5, c4, d4, b4, f6, c5, for example, is like a weird move. Weird move. f6, c5. It can be played a move later too, I think. How would that go? See, like c4, e3. Okay, so yeah, here. Basically move 5 or whatever. It's not move 11, it's move 5, but so the idea exists, you know, and even then I think it's kind of marginal. But to try to do something like that with black, I don't even want to look at it. You know, it's just like there's no way that's real. All right, so e3, e6, knight d2. It's a Kali system, old school. And I like black's setup. He can play what I call the Capablanca setup. So black does b6 and bishop b7 and tries to delay playing d5. I actually do this with white, and it's like a neo-semi-Slav. It's obviously better to have the extra move. Like when I'm white against a semi-Slav, I have a move in hand compared to this position, so I have better options. It's harder to do with black, but this was a good setup for black, relatively speaking. So you just played d5 here. Arsenal fan, I prefer the b6. b6, we wait a little bit. Because if white tries to do e4, it can get nasty, like pawn takes pawn, and we can get pressure down the c line, potentially. Stuff like bishop b7, rook c8. Funny that no one has tried this. It's odd. You know, look how many games there are with b6, 10 games, and not one player tried e4 here. Is it just my imagination? I mean, e4 is clearly playable. It's clearly a viable move. Even Pop Jula had a game when he was 2300. But, see, the Kali system players, they're just programmed to play, you know, like bishop to e3. I think that e4 deserves a try. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with what Arsenal did. You know, d5, okay. It's a standard Kali system main line. Bishop d6, semi-Slav reversed, castles. I have no idea. You obviously have less options when you're black than when you're white. It cuts down. You know, queen c7 here. It's a good idea, but I think Arsenal might be getting a little too big for his britches with the black pieces. You know, with another tempo in hand, you might make a fancy move like queen c7. But my gut instinct is that you have to be a little tighter with black and probably need to like take care of business and just castle or whatever. So this move might be a little too asking too much. It's played there by Aquinas. That's a good, and Dizdar, but especially Aquinas, who's like an opening theoretician. Though that was 1990. Queen c7 is a good idea, but again, like when you're black, you're a tempo move. You're a move behind where you would be. It's riskier. D takes c5. I don't know about this though. You know, should white take on c5? Should white play rook e1? Kali system expert, Mr. Coffee, what do you think? Queen e2. What would Carlsen do? You know, I have no clue. Okay, so this is standard stuff like e4, castles, queen e2, and look at that. It's the Kali system main line. Oh my god. So tons of games. Who plays the stuff for white? Mamajarov. All right. Queen e2, bishop d6. We're still in book. Rook e1. Nenad Shilava, who just passed away. Rest in peace. I had a great blitz session with him at Shirazi many years ago. It was sad. I mean, Shilava's only like, I think he was only like 56 or something. I mean, it's just crazy. 56 or 57 years old. That's so sad. Croatian Grandmaster. Rook e1, and now knight to g4. And wow, so amazingly, we're still in book here. We are still in book. It's funny because Arsenal fans playing black, he doesn't do theory like too much, and he's playing 12 moves of Kali system theory with black. I think he's just figuring this out on his own. He doesn't know this is the best move, but he has good intuition. Knight g4. That move looks like it's taking advantage of the rook, right? Because the f2 is weak. We could potentially play bishop c5, drive him back. h3. 95. Wow, so all these games. Doug Root against Stuart Rachel's. That's like US Championship 1991. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a random tournament, actually. I'm surprised Stuart Rachel still played in 1991. He like won the US Championship, then quit chess. I saw him recently on Facebook. That's a suggested Facebook friend. Horsten Hoy, Narciso de Blanc. All right. So this has all been played. 95, 95, bishop c2. Okay, novelty. 10 games. Everybody decided to take the isolated pawn. But we have a new move. Okay, reasonable move. Bishop c2. Why not? Keep the bishop. So you actually had games with Mr. Coffee. Wow. With Arsenal. Yeah, I'm not loving black here. I'm not loving McDonald's either. I didn't tell you guys, but I had to get a new credit card because somebody, and I suspect it was the McDonald's drive-through girl, skimmed my card and I got some charge for California. Not happy about that, McDonald's. Need to vet your employees a little bit better. Bishop c2, d4. And then, what are we doing here? I'm not loving it. Got a new credit card. They were good about it, but scary. At least I didn't get $300 bills to Brazilian steakhouses like the last time it happened with my debit card. Just $75 California restaurant gift card or something this time. Yeah, they have to be really stupid Uber driver to do that like repeatedly in the same place or something. That's amazing that they caught them though. Knight b1. Wow, what is going on here? What just happened? Okay, so this is the problem. Wow, I missed it. So the problem with bishop c2 is this what Arsenal did, d4. I got distracted with my credit card scam, but yeah, so this is just bad. So he has to do it. I mean, I guess theoretically you could play bishop b1. Doesn't look good for the future of our hero on a1, though. But if you want to exercise this, Mr. Coffee had mine still once, 750. 750 worth of paint and 220 in college textbooks, man. That sounds like you're like trying to get caught or something. That would be easy to kind of like research. You think it was a college student, Mr. Coffee? Normally it's gift cards that aren't possible to trace or very difficult to trace. But, all right, bishop c2. So clearly he has to take. Anyway, guys, let's see what happened. Here, bang. Nice job by Arsenal fan. Perfect so far. White plays knight b1. Yeah, it's tricky now. But I think black's happy at this point. You know, even if you have to take on c3. Arsenal really did a good job, though. Looking for something here that's... I mean, my first reaction was just like take, but you're bringing it out, a6. I would say this is like equal. Just gambit the pawn. You mean with d3? You mean white could just gambit the pawn? Sure. There's just no really good way to do it, though, you know, I guess. Can you play f4, something maniacal? I just don't think white has a good way to sack it, you know? Draw? I think at this point Arsenal should just take on c3 and just be like, all right, I'm better, I have a better structure. So this move to me looks kind of risky, you know. I mean, it's okay probably, but we're weakening our white squares on this diagonal. It just looks kind of high maintenance, like Mr. Coffee's credit card bill. Wow. Poker site, Mr. Coffee. I mean, Merle Dixon. Wow, poker site, that's scary. Played a lot of online poker, but I never had someone use my credit card to do it. 92. Yeah, just take here, man. Coffee. How do you feel about White's Collie system chances here? So c3 because no way to reinforce the d-pawn safely. Yeah, I mean, it's just nice. I just like black's position. You just have, you know, money for nothing and your chicks for free. I mean, this is just bad for white. It's a permanent weakness for the rest of the game. It's a nightmare, you know. It's just like you might as well. Black's it's almost better not to win the pawn, like just to make him suffer, without having to worry about losing that pawn the whole game. I wouldn't even be in a hurry to like win this pawn. You know, I would just be like leaving it there, making white like, you know, stress about it. But e5 changes everything. It weakens black's white squares. So I think that changes the calculations here. Still, he has got a second chance. Now this d5 square could fall into white's hands. A5 aggressive move. A4, okay. Here, rook d1. So what's going on? If pawn takes d4, bishop takes b3, or what? Yeah, white is a little too passive stylistically. Finally, he took. All right, so I like, you know, I might like the structure better if our pawn was like on e6. Let's see. I still like black here. He's focusing down this line. But now a5, we've got some weaknesses too. This move is ugly, clearly. Now this is huge. I like the way Arsenal went for f4. Nice transfer. White doing a good job. Trying to do a good job to fight for that white square diagonal. Might be too late. Is it too late? Oh no, Uber driver. Was it Merle? It was Uber driver, right? There it is again. The theme of the day. The rook transfer. That's, you know, that's subtle. It's the problem is this pawn here. How are we going to move the pawn forward from d6? You know, it's not easy. All right, bishop a3. All right, so what? What just happened? What? I'm a car thief. What? I'm stealing your car. All right, bishop takes a3. What is going on? Bishop takes a3. Rook d8. Queen d8. Rook a3. Can somebody reassure me that this is okay for white? Bishop takes a3. Rook takes d8 check. Queen takes d8. Rook takes a3. I mean, this looks disturbing. You know, this looks like white is about to give up. How is this not mate? Damn, dude. This will save this little threat there. I think if black had h6 in, probably it would be instantly over. Because that final check on e8 can be met by like king h7 resigns. But the fact that he has that mate on e8 is probably enough to save this position for white. It's ridiculous. Nope. Rook g6 does win. Okay, so let's say g3. Oh man, it's like speaking of Mamedyarov. Knight takes, king g2. You know, it's like plus 18, but it doesn't look like plus 18. You know, it's like knight here, check, king h2, rook h6, and you do eventually have mate. Nice. So bishop a3 is just winning? Yep. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Actually, you know, you see Arsenal played h6 here. So in his mind, it was exactly the same calculations, like, oh crap, that mate on e8, you know, is going to cost me. But I wonder how much time he actually spent on this move. So that's why it's important to kind of record the times of your moves when you play an over-the-board game, a rated game. Because it would be good to go back and see, like, how much did he actually think about this position? I didn't see it was a necessarily forced win. I intuited that it was a very strong chance it's a forced win, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I would have sat down and thought for like 5 minutes to make sure, you know, that this isn't a win for black. But he just played h6, and he lets him off the hook, you know, completely lets him off the hook. Now it's like not a win by force; it's slightly better for black. There's a big difference between slightly better and a forced win, you know. The dude gets to trade off his pieces and reach an endgame. And luckily, I mean, actually, we're losing a pawn here. The a5. a5 pawn is just falling. So queen a5 is a legitimate move. That's what he played. This is just a disaster. He was like better the whole game, and now like Arsenal fan has to play an endgame where he's just like drawing or something. Queen c3, knight e2, king f1. Not better the whole game, but you know, he had a huge advantage there. The guy played passively, should have been a great chance to win. Instead, it just goes to an equal endgame. And this is a draw, probably. The knight on c3 is kind of awkward. Yeah, he converted a bad bishop. Well, everybody had bad bishops, you know, to be fair. The bad bishop on d6 was bad, and the bad bishop on b2 was bad. You know? I mean, good for white to try to trade it off, but it didn't work tactically. But this is just a draw. All right. So, that was instructive, guys. We got time for 5 more games, man. We got to hurry it up, because I've only got half an hour. Stop sending me interesting games, guys. All right, Blobix. Blobix, where is he? I got a Blobix game? Blobix, Scandinavian. Played in the French Team Championship. Thank you for not submitting a brutal crush of me or something. No. You gotta be white here, right? Alright. Refresh if you're not black. Okay, so black playing queen d6. I tried to play this when it was fashionable 15 years ago without much success. I don't really trust it, but it's good up to a point. You know, I think it's good. It's probably still good because everybody plays like queen d8, which I think is sort of stupid. I think this opening is playable under 2200. I don't really like it above that for black, but refresh if you're not black. Back, it said. Okay, so sorry, Blobix is white. D4. Did we just get a donation or something? I saw something on the screen. Guys, you can make a streaming donation like someone on Sound who's dominating the streaming donation department. If you click on the Panda, yeah, it was a Tivyakov specialty, Tivyakov, and he did a good job with it, you know, but it's seen better days, and I think it's, you know, gone through the trendy, untrendy. It's playable. All right, let's see what happened. D4, A6. I don't know what the specialty move order is. Interesting. A6 first. Usually people play knight F6. That has a higher score for wins for black. It's interesting. There could be some subtleties behind A6, like trying to get in a fast B5. It's actually discouraging G3. Okay. If you hear my stomach growl, please don't be insulted, but I almost didn't eat today. I'm setting up for an estate sale, and I was just working nonstop from 8 to 5. So A6, yeah, interesting move. Trying to circumvent G3 to get the first fianchetto. I'm not familiar with this. I basically tried this a couple times, made a couple videos about it years ago, and for chesslecture.com. But I mean, it became so trendy, I just didn't want to even try it anymore. Now it's out of fashion again. So G3 anyway, right? Yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. I was talking a lot of crap. I mean, A6 doesn't stop G3. No, we're the first one to the diagonal. So obviously G3 is a strong move by Blobix here. Anything with G3 is good against the setup. In fact, I mean, Tivyakov got to the point where he was even playing like C6 really early. He's tried everything like G6, C6, knight C6, you know, A6. Pretty much everything you can imagine has been tried. But I like anything with G3. And probably black should give up on any sort of B5 idea. So knight F6 transposes back into normal lines. This nut Nevin is a Canadian player, I believe, but I suspect that's like correspondence or something. Because I don't think that guy's that high rated over the board. He might be 2200. But who knows? Anyway, knight F6 is normal. E6 looks a little premature. Black trying to get in C5. Anyway, so what's the point with the move order? Why did black delay knight f6? So here you've got a game where Nevin played bishop f4. That's interesting. There's a good chance we could transpose back into kind of like a main line here. If black plays b5, you can see how I lost horribly against not this exact position, maybe b5. Is that suicide here? How bad is it? It's real bad. Knight e5, rook a7. This actually happens in some positions, but this is not one of them. Apparently, it's just too dangerous. Knight c6. Igor Glek against Bronstein David. Glek was 2,600. I saw that the other day. I was a little surprised. Back in that day, I mean, in 1995, 2,600 meant something. Now, not so much. Knight c6, castles. I remember Glek won the World Open once. Around that time. Castles, bishop e7, bishop f4. He faded, though. I mean, he's like 24 something now. So this looks good. This looks really good. Glek versus Bronstein. I wonder if this is included in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. That book was probably published prior to that game. Good collection of Bronstein's analysis and games called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. But I'm not sure what year it was published. Yeah, black's just passive here. He did something wrong. The early e6, you know, like why not play knight f6, bishop g2, maybe bishop g4. That's provocative. Maybe knight c6, and after, you know, in the case of knight f3, then you can go bishop g4. Obviously, that transposes back into something where black's a little more actively deployed. But I'm telling you, it's not easy to play this opening for black. You got to be like an expert. So they followed these games, and now there's a game here, Parley-Grass against the 2400. Just a few games. Rook e1, very logical. I mean, white doesn't have to do anything fancy to get an advantage in this line. Gormley fan club. Gormley was complaining about his first days on lichess or something, I heard. Okay, rook e1, castles, knight e4, knight e4, rook e4. So look at the development. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces developed. Black has nothing almost in terms of development. Yeah, it's still very hard for white to crack. All right, knight takes e4, rook takes e4, b6. And then, wow, knight e5. For me, knight e5 is kind of a weird move. But it's also hard for white to get an edge here. What are we doing? My first idea would be play like c4 and try to blow him away with d5, but it's not that easy. Queen e2. This is going to be awkward. Black plays bishop b7 on our diagonal. Mule Skinner said Freeze Nielsen played this. Yeah, I mean, that guy, right? I never met him, but he's legendary Danish player for kind of weird openings. A good IM, but specializing in strange offbeat openings. Yep. This is creative solution. I don't like trading pieces here for Blobix, though. You know, he still has some small edge. But I mean, you're essentially, it feels like the knight on c6 is in the way. You know, you're a little bit helping black. So it feels like Blobix traded in his advantage for kind of a really small mini advantage. And he's actually a really good attacking player. So Blobix should try to keep pieces on the board. He just thrives with like attacking positions with all pieces on the board. My only chance against him is to try to trade pieces. I had the feeling that black must be a decent player, you know, and Blobix is kind of like, well, okay, you know, I'm not going to push too hard. This is a nice idea, though. So f6, obviously, terrible. only solid move. Bishop f6, queen f6, rook f4. White is better, but I'll take a draw. Yeah, it's a very, very mild-mannered game for Blubix. He didn't really press that hard. Against me, he plays a little bit more aggressively. It seemed like here he was kind of content with equal or a tiny bit better. Wow. Black wasn't content with equal or a tiny bit better. Black actually played queen b4. So I didn't see this tactic, but it's not surprising there is a tactic because there's a rook hanging on b7. And black is like ahead, behind in development. So white played very principled chess. This was a nice trick though. Saving the rook, but also threatening nasty stuff. I mean, it almost looks like rook takes f7 as a threat. That almost works. But the question is, what is our next threat in this position after rook e6? Initial shock wears off. Is white threatening anything? So I think black should calm down and just try to defend. But instead, he took this pawn, which gives him access to e7. So right now I'm just thinking, does white actually have a threat? None of us realized, including me, Blubix, that you lost a rook. You're kidding me. You can just take here, just with a subtle comment. This is protected. Oh my god. Yeah, rook e7 is a threat. I know. But he can't play it. You can't play it because it's protected. So the Blubix just gave him a piece here? Rook e6, just blundered a piece. No, yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, the queen's protecting f8. There's a3. Are you kidding me? How does a3 work? What are you talking about? In which position is there a3? Queen e6 check, and then a3? Wow. Queen e6 check, and then a3? Oh my god. That's beautiful. So he didn't drop a piece. Wow, this is beautiful. This is a nice tactic. Rook e6, and there's a3 in between move. That's so hard for black to see. I mean, I guess he saw it eventually. He probably sat there and saw it, but this is the point. Otherwise, you're losing a rook. Wow. That's nice. And now he's so uncoordinated. I mean, let's say this move, right? Let's say he plays this move. Pawn takes queen, rook f8. What's going on here? The computer says you're winning, but I mean, I don't think this is a walk in the park, 90% of 1700s wouldn't win this position with white, probably, even though it's +4. Yeah, a3 is an amazing resource, totally changing the whole position. This would have been hard for black to save, but an average player, in a game between average players, black might not lose. Beautiful little subtle trick there. So my question is, do you have a threat in this position after rook takes e6? And he said no, rook e7. But so your threat is what? a3. Is there a threat here for white? Basically, is my question. Is there a threat? Rook e7 is not a threat. A3 is a threat of sorts, right? But he could play queen takes c4 next time that you get a chance to play a3. So I think that it's probably there has to be some sort of move here for black to stay in the game, essentially. I mean, queen takes c4 must be Is queen takes c4 okay? Is my question. Do we really want to let you get a rook on the 7th rank? And I'm thinking no. You know, I'm thinking this is really scary now, you know? Because you're threatening stuff like rook takes f7. And my question would be this position. Yeah, but the engine doesn't find anything better. There was nothing better. Okay, queen takes c4. Rook e7. You're just more active, you know? And then so he blundered. Queen d5. Find the win. So rook e7, queen f7. And he drops a rook in all variations. Oh, that's so sick. So he's dropping a rook in all variations here. And if you take with, even if you take with the queen, there's no way to save it. Like any way you take, you're gonna lose a rook. Either to check here or check here on f3 or c8. I'm wearing the sweatshirt of a football coach. The bust on my sweatshirt, man. It's official Adidas merchandise. All right. Nice game by Blubix, guys. We're running out of time. We've got 20 minutes for a mere 4 games. Quickly now, 5 minutes per game. See, the late entries are punished. Early's on time is late, and late is inexcusable. So move 11. All right, we got a 5-minute analysis. Where's move 11? There he is. 5 minutes for a 5-minute game. I am white in a 5+3 game. Well, that's weird. So it's like a study? It's giving me options. There's like a menu. That's weird. Anyway. All right, so move 11's white here, blitz. I know it wasn't an exciting position, Blokes. You did damage tactically just when he thought everything was safe, you know. It was like there's nothing going on. It's a heavy piece ending. You know, nothing can happen, nothing bad can happen. But you gotta be respectful of your opponent. I mean, it's a wonder that something tactically went wrong with Black, with the rook fianchettoed on b7, isn't it? Unprotected fianchettoed rooks lead to tactical problems. Okay, so classical Berlin classical. Move 11 plays the insipid d3. Carlsen Magnus. I mean, I don't see the reason to play d3 here, except it keeps pieces on the board. Like, you avoid any sort of liquidation or exchange of pieces, but really you ought to go for it, you know, with one of these more aggressive lines, like c3 and knight takes c5. I don't see the reason. I mean, I understand to avoid, you know, the normal classical, or sorry, the normal Berlin. I understand d3 to avoid the Marshall, but I think here, you know, there are good lines for white. There ought to be a good line for white, you know, in the sharper systems with c3, or maybe even knight takes e5. I think it would suit a tactically minded player. You know, d3 looks kind of passive. You know who played it. Yeah, this is like Carl Schlechter. All due respect to Carl Schlechter. Black should not exchange on e3 here, I would think. It's weird. I mean, intuition would say black should... You can't castle? Yeah, you're going to lose a pawn. I almost want a castle. I mean, is that like illegal? Bishop takes c5, bishop takes c6. You know, knight takes here, and like queen d4, knight c4, crap. Knight takes e4. I mean, is this just a joke? It looks like a joke. It is a joke, apparently. I thought you could play queen d5, but that loses a piece. All right, never mind. I didn't say that. But anyway, I'm just trying to envision if there's another way for black to play here other than exchanging on e3, which feels like it gives ground. I would play bishop b6, I guess, then, if I have no other choice. It looks like black's score is actually better with bishop takes e3. So what's the idea with this? You know, classical chess says you should not make this exchange and open the F file for white. Strange. I would assume bishop b6 is the better move. So he knows that, whoever you're playing. Charco knows about that. Castles. Now knight on bd2. Carl. What would Carl do? You're thinking knight h4, you're thinking like queen e1, but the bigger question is, where's that knight going? You know, is it going to d2 or c3? Do we want a knight maneuver, knight e2, knight g3, or do we want to play for control of d5? Do we, you know, where do we put the knight? That's not clear to me, you know. Arashenko. Move 11 is naturally playing like Arashenko. Okay, knight d2. And then knight e7. Strange your opponent knew the... it's strange he knew the only game. He knew the exact move played in the only game in the opening book. But maybe it's just a coincidence. So now knight h4. Move 11 also just happened to know the only master game in this position. But knight h4 is a plan I'm pretty familiar with. Knight g4. Is fixing the double pawns important? No, not really. I like those double pawns. You know, they're good. They control the center. They give you a half open file to attack with. That's what Carl liked to do. So again, queen e1, it defends h4 and e3 maybe. We'll see. Uh-oh. This could be a problem. But he decides to break with d5, different plan. Well, the double pawns weren't really a weakness. But I'm wondering about queen b6. Then knight c4 defends everything, okay? Here, he goes central, h3. Well, that's a random move. Ouch, that's attacking both our pieces. LPDO. Well, at least he can't take two at the same time. Take two and call me in the morning. You can only take one. Queen d2. Everything's protected. We don't mind this. Hey, there's another double pawn. We got f5. It's fine. I mean, this bishop is coming to life too. He is going to live to fight another day. This is kind of good for white, I think. And then knight g6. The mother of all knights is on f5. You can't just live with that here. I mean, that's going to be death, dude. I mean, I don't really like the situation for black here, but I don't think you can live with a knight on f5 for too long. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, I really like this for white. White is just better. Now it's the question, can we get everything to the H file? I'd be playing like king f2 maybe. King f2. How about rook f3? Just rook f3 double. Yeah, you see this move? No, actually, he has a point. I mean, f7. But I mean, my gut instinct is bring more forces into the attack rather than the hunt f7. But maybe knight d6 is strongest. It's just tripling up. He has that move, you know, unfortunately. So, I mean, what would happen if we just brute forced it? You know, rook f2, double up, maybe g5. It's not a guaranteed win, right? I'm curious in this position. I'm curious. Knight d6 is the best move according to the engine. Going for material. All right. Kudos. All right. Bishop e6, fe6, b4. Flank attack. Knight's not looking that stable there. Play b6, fake me out. All right, so look at this recapture with the queen. I mean, I don't know, you know. Our advantage is sort of faded. That's not great. King f7 is kind of a weird move, man. Wonder about g5. Would it be better to just play g5? Is that I think it would be better to just play g5, honestly. I don't like connecting his pawns. Yeah, so this is... I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, g5 was kind of a weird move, too. Just have to increase the pressure. I feel like this is wrong. So it's got to be your kind of standard random blitz game. Queen well centralized there by black. So it's just a blitz game. And the knight looks bad now. Man. What's up with c2 here? Is that just a donation? This looks like it's going bad. You could just take on a2. Yeah, so move 11 drifted. He was a little too optimistic. You know, he made some mistakes. I think that he had a pretty good position there, maybe close to winning, but got sidetracked, and then it looks like it just degenerated. Degenerado. Maybe knight c5, the last chance here. And resigns. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. We've got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes for 3 games. Because I'm dying. Alright, Mule Skinner, Stook, and Uber Driver as quickly as we can do them. Alright, Mule Skinner. Black. From the Arena Tournament. Arsenal played white. Arsenal gets a bonus game. Uber's playing French against another subscriber. Winnower, c5, a3. So bishop a5. That's I thought this was Uber, but wait a minute. This is Mule Skinner. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Uber's last. This is Mule Skinner. I'm sorry. This is a variation he's played against me. If you don't know what you're doing, it's Fisher with a C, don't forget. A lot of people make that mistake normally. But bishop a5, especially if you're typing on a phone or something, but bishop a5 is a sideline. Khalifman, El Halif used to play this. He played it and drew Kasparov, which was impressive in the mid-90s or late 90s or 2000 or whenever. Maybe it was after 2000, post 2000. Halifman drawing with this line. It's not a bad line. I mean, it's the only sideline that really is any good for black in the winnower. So let's see. I don't know. I've never played Queen G4. You know, I always play the main line with B4 anytime I face this. This is interesting. So let's see what happens. Bishop G5. Wow. That looks like a cool idea. But what are we doing? I mean, we're playing like C takes D4, B4 or something? I don't know, Bob. I don't think you need another stream. I'm all you need. I'm enough love for all of you. Okay, Bishop G5, right. So CD4, yeah, I mean this looks good. We're out of book. So knight e7, so bishop g5. Basically, Arsenal just invents a new variation here, bishop g5. It's a great idea in the Caro-Kann advanced variation. Yeah, but I agree. It looks good. You know, this looks kind of dubious to move the queen to g4 and then have to move it again. That doesn't feel right. You hear that little sound in the background again? Okay, bishop g5. This looks awkward. Queen g4, queen d4, queen f4. That's a lot of queen moves. I would imagine you could even play like knight to g6 here. Trade a little queen now. Then it's like bishop d8, bishop a5. That's kind of strange. It's playable, but... So you just go for this. And then queen a5 with tempo. Yeah. I mean, this is you know, no shame in Arsenal. If you don't know the theory in this line, it's just very hard to play. You know, you learn your lesson, and you got to study this. I still don't get good positions with white because I don't know it well enough. But this looks highly, highly bad. Highly bad. Highly dubious. King d2. Spassky. You know what? Speaking of Spassky, white might be better off, like, playing king d1 or something. I mean, I don't know. But we can't sacrifice everything. King d1, queen c3, simply a double attack against e5 and f and b and a1. Sorry, I can't even talk. No, this is just over. I think white's just lost here. The computer says plus 1.3, but I mean, does that really help? What if knight e2? Knight e2, only try? Man, what is this doing over here? Yeah, probably the only try. This looks like suicide. You know, you can't possibly pretend this is the McCutcheon, right? This is not the McCutcheon. I like positional play. You know, b6, get your queen trapped on a5. But seriously, like b6, always be careful when you do queen a5 and you play b6. But b6, bishop a6, just trading that white squared bishop on a6 is like horrifying for white. Mule Skinner just goes direct. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Ouch. That probably just ends it. I mean, maybe you can hide behind the pawn. It's getting worse. Ooh, the bishop's all like gonna be trapped. It's just trapped. Ooh. This hurts just to watch. Man, nice game. It doesn't give him any counterplay, just a piece up. It's over. Nice game, man. But, you know, you've beaten me in this line. You know it pretty well. I think it's a great choice. Certainly below master level, nobody knows the line with white. Almost. You know, unless you've gotten beaten with it badly already. You have to be traumatized once or twice to really be forced to learn this, because it's not that common. And that's why it's good. Nice game, Mule Skinner. Missing mate in one. But it's alright. The A1. The flawed game. Double checkmate. Alright. Next game. Mule Skinner. Sorry, still. The last two, quickly. Looking at different openings for the last weeks. Starting to notice the importance of choosing openings that suit your style. Any suggestions for a Dutch-like opening for black against e4? Yeah. I know you're playing the Dutch. You played it against me. A game familiar today. Short and sweet. That's what we need. Suggestions for a Dutch-like opening for black. Difficult to do. I would suggest playing the Roy Lopez, you know, Schliemann or something. If you really want to play with an f5. You got to play like e5 first, and then try to do the maybe the Latvian or the Schliemann where you're playing an early f5. All right. Don't play f5 against e4. You know, don't try to play the Fred. You know, some people do that Colorado Gambit or whatever, like e4 knight c6, and then try to play this type of thing. You know, it's really dubious for black though. The Latvian's not sound, but he's asking for recommendation for people under, you know, 1800. I mean, the Latvian's sound. You can play the Latvian under up until 2000, probably, at least. So, we got the Dutch here. Non-theoretical variation with e3 and bishop c4. Kind of a weird setup. Yeah, I guess the Colorado's unsound. I mean, it's probably in the same category as the Latvian. King h8, f4. Weird opening by white, huh? It's like a stonewall attack against the Dutch. I'm getting challenged to from Jordan, and I am. Unfortunately, dude, I had a really long day. I would love to play you, but when I wasn't working like 12 hours and I'm 10 minutes over on my stream, maybe another time. Aronian 1111. I'm going to decline his challenge. He doesn't get offended. C6, and White has a good game now, or not. No, actually, as long as he can't play E4, you're okay here. As long as he can't play E4, you're okay here. Oh my god, man. Oh my god, man. You're just winning a piece. That's why you played King H8. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes, queen takes, D5. You overthought this. He can't play E4. If he can play E4, he has a great game. No, you're fine. He's got to play something else. This is fine. Underthought or overthought? Yeah, he over-respected his opponent. But after this, now White has a good game. Yeah, space is the final frontier. Alright. Yeah, so it's going to get kind of messy now. He takes here, which is probably a blunder. And that lets you play knight takes e5. I think knight takes e5. And then you grab his bishop here. And you've got a decent game. Pawn takes e5 would give him bishop takes d7, bishop takes d7, bishop d7, f takes e. He's a pawn up, you know. So this is actually a mistake. But he makes a counter mistake. Like, he needs to take your knight, but he doesn't. So now he's back to square one with a worse version of what he should have had. Knight takes e5. This is even worse. Yeah. Check. Ugly. Black now has the bishop pair, better development, mating threats, white squares. Terrible. Nice. Ouch. Ooh, that hurts. So, ooh, ow, oof, that hurts. Now knight f2 check. Yep, it's pretty devastating because you got queen d1. Acerbate's definitely on board with this one. Nice game. Yeah, that was vicious. That was vicious. Yeah, if black gets in, like, whoever gets in e4, e5 first in that type of Dutch structure is obviously better. Okay, guys, quickly, I gotta go. Last game, Uber driver. Oh my god. So this is just a suggestion, not a game. So it looks like he's just sending me a game there. Okay, Uber driver, did you submit a game? That was just a suggestion for the stream. Maybe Uber driver didn't submit a game. I think he just submitted like a comment for my stream. Okay. He wrote a manifesto. That's not as long as Acerbate's. Acerbates sent me longer ones. But alright, so it wasn't a game schedule. Anyway, I'm toast. I've got to go, guys. We're gonna be out of here. I've got to go get some rest. I've got a estate sale that I'm hosting. I'm the host of my estate sale for 3 days this weekend. I'll be back on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If Uber driver wants to submit a game, or if I missed it somehow, you know, he can be the first next week. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Thanks everybody for supporting the stream, subscribing, and wish me luck with my estate sale this weekend. Again, streams are on Friday and Sunday. I'll see you guys then. Thanks, Mr. Coffee. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and I will see you again tomorrow evening. Bye-bye. Later, guys. Take care.